This is the world's first mechanical clock in Satisfactory 1.0. This clock is counting 60 Earth minutes, or a full day-night cycle on massage to a BBB. This clock is self-powered and self-contained blueprint. The only setup is the placement of this clock at your preferred hour zero. The clock arm is counting massage to a BB hours or Earth minutes, and that clock arm is the layer of glowing uranium fuel rods on a belt. This belt is moving with the flow of time and moving downwards until it completely resets. Every revolution around the clock is exactly 100 Earth seconds, and technically, this clock has 36 belt layers or clock dials. With that in mind, I'm just placing one sign every 3 layers of belt for a total of 12 dials. Alright, how this clock works? Well, the journey for this project was almost a year-long process. Although the final clock turned out to be way more simpler and more elegant solution than I imagined at first, the journey covered a lot of advanced Satisfactory techniques, including the powered belt logic and even my lame attempts at, water clocks. As far as I can tell with my Google skills, nobody ever shared mechanical clock in Satisfactory. So yeah, this looks like the first mechanical clock in the lifetime of Satisfactory. Although there have been several sun clocks over the years, but they are sun clocks, they are on the ground, and I want something visible in the air. Once upon a time, I made XOR 24-hour in-game clock in Oxygen not included, and Satisfactory was my next victim. At the time, I just created my remote order storage system in Satisfactory, and while this system is almost completely outdated with the release of Satisfactory 1.0 and Dimensional Cloud, well, that system had a basic 0-1 logic. And for quite some time, I was trying to find another use for this basic logic. The logic system is quite ingenious. In my personal iteration, it consists of liquid biofuel packager and unpackager running like 50 packaged biofuel on the infinite loop. Although one can use any liquid to achieve the same results, packaged liquid biofuel is just something I automate pretty early on and carry in my inventory. There is a merger on normal belt into the biofuel loop before the unpackager, and then there is a smart splitter letting the biofuel into the loop and splitting any undefined item to the output belt. So when there is a power, there is a bypass of any undefined item through the loop. Once packagers are powered down, they stop the infinite loop of unpacking and packing the packaged liquid biofuel. This way, packaged liquid biofuel effectively jam the belt with the smart splitter and any undefined item. So this is a simple 0-1 logical switch for the belts. Thus, by controlling the power to packagers, we can just turn on and off the flow of items on any belt. Then add to this priority power switch with extra sorting system before and after logical switch, and it is like remote order storage system in a nutshell, or more like in a canister. Yeah, pun intended. Well, the whole system is a bit harder, but we care only about the logic switch and not the remote order storage part, so let's talk about the logic switch as a building block for the mechanical clock. So, what if we go another level of inception and control the power chain with control of another power chain to packagers and unpackagers? It can be done. We can allow the flow of fuel for the power plant with our newly found logic. For example, we can control the flow of coal to coal power generator by controlling the power to packagers and unpackagers. We only need to make some sort of a timer, and this is totally possible with set amount of fuel and power generators. Alright, my idea for the clock basic system looked like this. There are 2 power chains, power chain A and C for 2 sets of packagers and unpackagers to allow for the logic. And there are 2 coal power generators B and Z. When the coal power generator B is active, it turns on power chain C, and this allows for the flow of coal to the power generator D. When the coal power generator D is active, it turns on the power chain A, and this allows for the flow of coal to the power generator B. When either of those generators are inactive, well, we are stopping the flow of coal to another generator. Simple as that. Just scale it up 6 times for 12 dials, add the light indicators for the hours on the power generator chains, set amount of fuel to 5 minutes in the first generator, this will be like 75 coal, then limit the input of coal into the loop for something like 15 coal per minute for 75 coal in 5 minutes, and this requires the use of awesome sync to delete excess from 60 coal per minute on input of Mark 1 belt, loop the last generator to the first, and you sort of get yourself a clock, right? Yes? Nope. I have made a full system in the game. This is like 3 blueprints full of 12 logic blocks on packagers with 12 coal power generators and even extra generator to power the awesome sink and water pump independently. I was really excited to finally again make something world first that is not like a built-in Path of Exile or Guild Wars 1. And then I heard this all so familiar lamentation of generators. You see, I sort of made a timer, not a clock. And unless if I'm willing to flip a fuse for 12 generators every 60 minutes, this clock will not loop itself. It is just a fancy 60-minute timer with 5-minute dials or steps. While this timer is something better than making a timer by floating a train, well, it's still not a clock. So, this idea sort of went out of the window. So, what was next? Well, next was me crying in tears under the table and eating the full can of condensed milk at 3 AM in the morning. But after that, I sort of remembered about oxygen not included. You see, with the use of simple water clock, you can make a looped timer in oxygen not included. And I have decided to make a water clock in Satisfactory, why not? I even done the math on how many buffers I need for 5-minute dials, but then the reality kicked in. In oxygen not included, pumps are different. They basically can push water with vacuum, while in Satisfactory, pumps are more realistic and do not push water with vacuum. You need the water to push the water, and if you have water in system left, you could not really loop the water. Also, there is slosh in Satisfactory, and this is sort of like deleted any of my attempts at making horizontal, not vertical water clock. Then I decided to replace any of vertical movement of water with packagers and unpackagers, because why not, let's circumvent the issue. And this is also failed due to the total lack of proper indication with laughable throughput of water when it's going down, not up. Somewhere around me eating another can of condensed milk, I realized how dumb I am. So, the belts in Satisfactory is sort of like liquids and pipes in oxygen not included. Once the material in the belt, it just flows. If we can display the items on the belts near the dial at certain time for a certain time period, we can make a clock. The math is quite simple. There are 60 minutes in Satisfactory day, we have Mark 1 belt with a flow of 60 items per minute, multiply it by 5 minutes and we get the number 300. So if we are displaying 300 items on the Mark 1 belt, it is exactly 5 real minutes. And for 3600 items, it is exactly 60 minutes or 1 hour. We need only to loop it in a cycle, all those 3600 items. At this point, I still was thinking with 5-minute modules in mind. The idea was to have containers full of 3300 blank items and 300 of display item to showcase the active dial or active hour in the game. This also required placing 300 of display item in every container in every dial at different spots to activate the dial at certain in-game hour. Yeah, quite a lot. Issue here is in containers and the loop. It does not work with the short belts and the container is at best a starting point, but the whole loop should stay on the belt and only bypass the container. Then I started to balloon the size of dial mechanism and it started to look ridiculous. Also, if you think about the 12 dials in one single blueprint, it is like 43,000 items to make a clock with 12 dials. It just does not fit into inventory, so you couldn't really make single blueprint precise clock. And at this point I was almost ready to open the third can of condensed milk, and then I kinda got it. The single dial already counts 60 minutes. Also, I have a display item that basically is the display arm or clock arm. Why on earth or massage to a BBB? I have 11 dials there. I just need one. So yeah, just single dial, single clock. After like 4 hours of me eyeballing the required amount of belt length, it was set at 36 belts in sort of like 5x6x5. And every loop should be about 100 items or 100 seconds. The clock should be precise, and the precision is coming from the total belt length, which should be exactly 3600 items. So yeah, if you're off by 1 or 2 items every single loop, you basically making the clock that is lagging for several seconds every single day. And also, I do not really need like 300 of the display item. My loop is only 100 seconds, so 100 of display item is more than enough. The blank item is quite naturally concrete. It has stack size of 500, it is common, and it looks as a blank wall from afar. The display item, well, it can be anything, but in the dark not everything is noticeable. My goal was to avoid power requirement for the clock, so lighting it up with a light seemed like, I don't know, like drinking milk with a shot glass or something. So instead, I decided to use
nuclear power
and display glowing uranium fuel rods. Yeah, green, by the way, is the best color to see in the dark from afar. Obviously, uranium fuel rods is a bit, well, hard to get, so there is an alternative version of the blueprint for the area game stages with the same fluctuators as a display item. Same fluctuators, well, they still glow in the dark, they are not as great, but they are way more accessible. There are two blueprints, and both of them can be turned into IMPM version by simply upgrading every belt to Mark II. Both blueprints are available for free on patreon.com/Yakez. Just sign up and download. There are installation instructions inside, and my Patreon have like 250 plus free blueprints to download. Also, there are several factory blueprint variations available as early access for paid Patreon members. And thank you for every Patreon supporter fueling my condensed milk addiction. This week we have a bunch of new supporters with tips of Mr. Hamilton and beyond, so let's welcome Spungeh, Res, Xander is the only god, and BMF Oldman. As always, thank you for watching, have a nice one, and Yakez is out to get more condensed milk.